let me introduce my guest. Let's not waste any time. Let's not muck about. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the original Mr. Big Chest, St. John's favorite son, the man who seems like he does everything, son of Goalman Goal, and now has become his own Maponyane. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Maponyane.
What's up?
Come on, brother. Come on.
What an intro, Doc. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I've been wanting to come through for a while, and I appreciate you having me on.
Come on, brother. Come on. It's an absolute honor to have you on Maps. Hey, are you the busiest guy in the world?
I think, you know what? I think I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And even if I think about my actual name on my birth certificate, which is Masejo, and in Tswana, that means lots of luck or good fortune. That's just been, I think that's been a lot of my making in my career.
Hey, Maps, you know what I always wonder about you is, do you ever think to yourself, you're going to reach a level of handsome where if you walk past a mirror, it's going to be difficult to leave your house? Is that ever something that happens to you?
To be honest, I avoid all the mirrors in my house, man. I think it's just better that way.
Sound cool, smart, because you want to do stuff. And if you look at your handsome face, hey, Maps, appreciate you, brother. I know your time is precious. So let's get into it, bro. Listen, I don't want to be told.
Thank you so much, man. I'm sorry about this. Yeah. There's a little bit of a lag, so I'm just going to try and make sure that I keep up to that.
All right. No, I got you. We will adjust to you, Maps. We will adjust to you. So listen, I don't want to be tone deaf, right? We're in a time now where we're in a real world. And I know you are an entrepreneur and you do have a space that's still in a tricky space. You've got a restaurant, right? Let's talk a little bit about Buns Out and what gave you the idea to open the restaurant. I know you've done so many other things. What was it that drove you to open it? And how has lockdown affected that? Talk to me about that.
To be quite honest, I've just always really loved food. I've always been a big fan of food. Grew up with my mom making my brother and I cook a lot of the meals at home. So it's always been something that I've enjoyed the experience of. To be fair, I've always said I eat it a whole lot better than I make it. But I think over the years, as I've learned more and more, I've made sure that I've learned the tricks of the trade. And I just always wanted to open a restaurant. I always dreamt of opening a restaurant. I saw there were so many gaps to do so locally. One of the things that we were trying to work against is the traditional South African restaurant that has like 60, 70 items on the menu that gives you choice anxiety. And we wanted to have something that specialized in one thing and was refined. And if you wanted to go for a specific meal and you felt like that, this was the first place that came to mind. And we wanted to be able to create that because, if you think of a lot of places around SA, if you wanna go for a steak, okay, cool. Like you can go to a steakhouse, but the steakhouse probably does sushi, and the sushi spot probably does curry too. Like everyone does everything, and it's a bit of a Russian roulette of what you're gonna choose. So that's what we were avoiding.
Yeah, no, hey, great call. Whenever I go to like a steak restaurant and they got fish, I'm like, hey, what are we doing here? It's the amateur hour. Like, hey, I'm with you. Hey, Maps. Since you're talking about selling burgers, how the hell do you keep your body like that without becoming the fattest guy in the world? What's your story? Are you just like genetically given something that we aren't?
Jeez, I don't know. I don't know where to take that. I have no idea. If I could tell you how much I eat, you wouldn't even believe it. But I think I just probably just wear more and more baggy clothes these days. So you just don't realize what's actually happening underneath there. So don't be fooled. It's all smoke and mirrors, man. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's a lot like Arsenal. There's good players in the field, but not actually. So it's one of those things.
Oh, okay. Let's get into it. Talk that nonsense. Talk that heat.
Talk that
heat. Hey, talk that heat. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's get it going. All right, hey, you opened it up. Let's get it going. Let's start with Arsenal's performance against Man City.
Let's be serious. The game on Wednesday night. I mean, I don't know what that was. I mean, it was Man City just too strong, dominating right where they left off. You're hoping that during I think they had about 80 days to go back to the drawing board mid-season. Arsenal, we're like, okay, guys, work your stuff out. Work what you need to work out,
hey,
and then come back.
Not a kid's show. Not a kids show. You can
Oh,
drop
not a
that. You
kids
can
show?
drop those bombs. Not a kids show. You can drop those
Okay,
bombs.
cool.
Keep going.
Try this again. Try this again. You know, you think any days, go work your shit out. Go back home and work your shit out and see if you can come back and play proper football. And see if you deserve to be in the EPL. And see if you can move from ninth position as Arsenal. Arsenal, the same Arsenal that the great Thierry Henry played for, that you mentioned earlier. The greatest striker that was in the English Premier League. I do agree with you in that, sir. How does he even watch it and still want to say he played for that team? You know, because it's just embarrassing what they're doing, and I don't know what's happening. It's a mess all over the place. And honestly, Mulelo, I don't know if you've got time in your day, but like, I know I don't have the time. But if you have a moment, go have a look if they will be willing to sign you over David Luiz, because I have no idea who isn't better than that.
Hey, can't do it. I'm a Chelsea fan. Listen, David Luiz should come with his own clown suit, right? There should be a clown. The part of the signing fee is have a clown suit, because this guy is going to. He's calamitous. So okay, I like that you're talking that heat now, right? Talk me. I was reading one of your interviews or listening to one of your interviews about the greatest day in your life was when Man United won the treble. Is that correct?
Well, it was one of my greatest sporting memories. Definitely Manchester United winning the treble, and especially because I remember being at home, sitting with my father and my brother of course, 99, and getting to see those final goals and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just slipping that in, babyface, and taking it home in the Champions League, a moment I will never forget. And it was just part of those glory days. You know, I remember starting to really be a big football fan and being a big United fan, and it was thanks to a man called Eric Cantona. You know, someone who maybe could have featured on your list, maybe, but you know, it was just something where he brought a different flair to the game, and he really made me excited about watching football, playing football, and wanting to, you know, emulate what he brought to the game. And I just miss those days when we used to always be that team that you knew was the top team in the world that you just had to try and beat. And I think we got a long way to go, but at least we have more and more of a structure, but we're still kind of finding our way. But once again, rather that than be an Arsenal fan.
Hey, I couldn't put Cantona in because he's a two-sport guy, right? He's into MMA. He's going to kick a fan in the front row at the stadium and then play football. So I didn't put any dual sport stars.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he's more of a Dana White guy.
Yeah,
so
you put Andy Cole in there, so I completely understand.
Hey, Andy Cole, are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
When I say York and Cole, how are you feeling about that?
Oh, man, probably the best duo up front that there ever was.
Comfortably. Hey, I'll concede that. Talk to me about United at the moment. So let's go from the top, right? What do you think of Ed Woodward? And how long does he have? Is he on the clock, or do you think he's doing a good job because he's still bringing the money in for United? What's the story there, Maps?
I don't know. You know, it's hard to have any confidence. You know, I can talk all that talk about Arsenal, but we're not really doing much better on our side. Look, we'll be able to obviously tell a little bit more, but I feel like if fans have any complaints and have any concerns right now about the team, it feels like we're speaking to ourselves anyway. So we'll see how long he has. I think he'll decide how long he has. Might be there for a very long time, might not be, and we'll just have to wait and see. But I think there is time for a bit of a change.
Oh, hey, great transition. I can see you're in the business. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you said there's time for change. How long do you give him? So let me give you a scenario, hypothetical scenario here, Maps, Mr. Big Chest, as they call you. If Man United, hey, you like that, Mr. Big Chest? Yeah. The official Mr. Big Chest.
It's only you that calls me that.
We're going with it. You're here. It's my show. I get to call you whatever I like. Maps, talk to me about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? If he doesn't get Champions League this season, how long do you give him next season before you start to say this thing's not going where we want it?
If he doesn't get Champions League this season, I give him until the end of this season, because then I think it will be confirmation that, you know what, good go. And obviously that run that you had of, I forgot how many it was, 12, 13 games, where we were really looking like we were unstoppable and starting to feel like we were playing like the days of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Teddy Sheringham. Great, but now it looks like, nope, we are slipping back further and further and further. And if we once again can have another year where we're not in the Champions League and we have to get all this back talk from all these other clubs, and there's going to be Leicester that ends up being in the Champions League instead of us. And I'm sorry, man. We love you, but you're going to have to go.
So, look, we'll carry on with the United stuff. I just wanted to ask you, did your parents send you to St. John's instead of Cares because you didn't want to go into Hillbrow, or what was the story there?
I actually went to Keps. I went to Keps for primary school, and then I just didn't go to the high school because they didn't want me to leave with your accent.
Talk that nonsense. You gotta love it. Okay, touche, Maps Maponyane. Gotta love it. Okay, so let's get back to United. I think the crucial question here, Maps, is Paul Pogba. Does he stay or does he go? What are your feeling on Paul Pogba? When do you sell him? This season, next season? Do you give him some time? What are your feelings on Pogba, number one, and how long are you willing to give him?
Do you know what? I was willing to give Pogba quite a while when he came in, and I think he can still bring such a great dynamic to the team. He is when he's on, he's on. When he's not, sadly, you don't even realize that he's on the field. And that's just the sad part. He's either just firing on all cylinders or he's not at all. You get more consistency from a Lingard out there. And honestly, all the players this season haven't really been able to show that consistency and that strength that we want. And I remember when France won the World Cup, and I just thought, now he's going to be even more lax because he's going to think that he's there, they've made it. Imagine Lukaku won the World Cup with Belgium. Imagine what he would have been like, and it's just, it's the same thing. We had to get rid of him ASAP. And look, he's performing now. He's performing as soon as he's left us. He's performing a lot better. And I think Pogba still, he's being Mr. Big Chest on the field, but he isn't delivering the way we need him to. So what do? Do you hang on to him? I don't know. I think you give him a while, you see how well he can do for obviously the remainder of the season, and then I guess you probably let him go while you can still let him go for a good price, because then you need to start finding those great finds, which we've struggled with that for a while. We haven't found a really good, a good find. You mentioned earlier that they bought Thierry Henry for £12.5 million. We haven't been able to produce that as Manchester United in a while, and I think we probably need to look a little bit further to see where those gems are that we can unearth and let go of any kinds of egos that are preventing us from being once great Manchester United. If Pogba doesn't really show his leadership the way he should be, and take us to a new level. So I'm willing to, of course, after all of this, hopefully he's had some introspection. We've all spoken about how lockdown has forced us to all go within and think about our place within society. And hopefully he's been, brought back down a little bit, at least, so that, we don't have De Gea to do all the work for Manchester United, because everything else is a shambles. So we're just waiting for him to try and save as many things as he can.
It has been a genuine shambles for a long, long time, because De Gea, like you're saying, has been your best player. Hey, Paul Pogba's too busy doing TikTok. This is what Pogba's the TikTok guy. Get off TikTok, brother. And so, Matt, my last thing on Pogba is, are you not worried that the injuries, the problem is when you do rely on him, is he's actually now been out really for 2 of the 4 seasons you've had him, right? Does that concern you as a Man United fan, or do you think that the talent is so great that you take the risk?
I think the talent is still there to take the risk. It's not this is a terrible pun, but it's not a sure thing that he'll eventually be injured like Luke. But Pogba still got that. He's of that stock, that great West African stock where he should have the strength to go on a little bit more, take those knocks a little bit harder. And so I would always gamble on him being able to, continue without the injuries and to suck it up a little bit. But I think definitely one more injury and one more setback and one more delay into him really finding that momentum, then it's probably tickets, and we'll have to let him go.
Hey, speaking of the fact that he's from West Africa, maybe that's the problem, is he's eating the French cuisine. He's not eating any jollof. You got to get the goat jollof. You got to get that goat jollof, and then you toughen up those bones so that you don't have polystyrene knees. And Luke Shaw, by the way, he always looks like he lives at Buns Out. Why is Man United left back overweight? It is embarrassing and ridiculous. But listen, let's move on. I've always wanted to ask you. By the way, I knew your brother because we're the only two people that had melanin in the South African ski industry for a long time that were actually skiing together. And when I met you before you got those pecs, brother, a long time ago, whilst you were still getting educated. But I've always wondered and wanted to ask you. The shadow of your father, those who don't know, he is the son, and I mean, he is his own man in his own right, but he is the son of the great, truly great. That's an overused word, but the truly great, Marx Maponyane. Growing up, was that a shadow you kind of thought, was it too much for you? How did you embrace that? And were you scared to maybe tell other kids who your father is? And how did that affect your relationships with people when you were younger? I'd love to know.
Actually, I like that question about was I scared to tell my father? Growing up, I just knew my dad as dad. I didn't quite understand what was happening, obviously, at a very young age. Whenever we'd go out to public areas and people were running to him so he could sign things or take photos, I truly just thought, this is obviously before maybe 5 or 6 when you start to get a whole lot more cognition of what's happening. But I truly just thought that my dad maybe was just really popular in school and had a lot of friends. That's what I thought what was happening, And I didn't know, like, he was just dad. I didn't know what was going on. And it was as I started to understand, the fact that, at this point, because now we're talking 96, he had just started in 92 to start playing for Orlando Pirates. So I'd say around 94, when I was around 4 years old, I started realizing what was happening because I was playing a lot of football, started playing football from the age of 2 years old, and you start to understand just how amazing it is to see these players that you look up to on the screen. And I was like, oh damn, that's my dad. Okay, great, cool. But I still didn't quite put together the fame part of things, And I was that's how I actually became a big Orlando Pirates fan, because I grew up with him playing for Pirates, and then you start to understand the history and gravitas of it all, going from Kaizer Chiefs to Pirates, captaining both teams, being a striker for both teams, setting records on both teams. And then you try and become your own footballer with that kind of record behind you. And then it's just something else altogether. It was an interesting thing for my brother and I. We loved football. We were passionate about football. He was a defender. I was a striker, but I'd play a really good game, score 2 goals, set up 3 chances. And without doubt, from 8 years old, 9 years old, I'd come off the field, probably even younger. And I'd come off the field and someone would have said, oh, your dad would have scored 3 goals and set up 5 chances, you're just not quite him. And the entire time, that was always what would happen. He was well known for his bicycle kick, and I would, someone would cross the ball in, and I'd be there, perfect, volley or header, come off the field. Your dad would have done a bicycle kick, man. You obviously just don't have that thing. And then you end up thinking, am I actually doing this for myself? Or am I, constantly just trying to impress other people? And the irony is that my dad couldn't have cared less. He just wanted my brother and I to be active and have fun. And we both played for Wits, and we got pretty far playing for Wits University. And then we just realized that it wasn't our journeys at all, and it was something, obviously it was a tough pill to swallow, but we just needed to find ourselves, because you mentioned that I used to tell kids growing up and everything, but my dad wasn't. I never mentioned it because from an early age, as soon as I worked out what that meant, I was very cognizant of who was, a real friend and who wasn't. What have you possibly got to gain from this, and what might you be looking for instead of just being a genuine friend? And so I've always just kept that to myself. I've got friends who only found out about 5 to 10 years into our friendship, who my father was, and it's always great to know that those kinds of things are genuine. And it was just important for my brother and I to pave our own paths. And you speak about being snowboarders. I mean, my brother being a professional snowboarder, coming from South Africa, learning to snowboard, Lesotho of all places, and then being able to represent South Africa on the slopes shows you the keenness to really try and pave our own path, no matter how hard. We just wanted to be our own people. And it was just great to have learned the lessons from my dad about, going after what you want, backing yourself. And that's something that he always did really well. And it was great to have been able to have him as a mentor for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And I think you've told some hard truths. Everybody might look at it from the outside. It's like, hey, he's Marx Maponyane's son. His life's great. But these are real things. When very few people in the history of mankind have been genetically what your father is and been as famous. You know, nobody thinks that kids just see a dad. And for you, it must have been, you know, everybody thinks it's an easy ride. And what you've just said is it's both haunting and enlightening at the same time.
Do you never spare a thought sometimes for Messi's kids? I mean, I look at them right now and I'm just like, oof,
God.
It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough.
The only way is to be a monk. Like the right move is move to Tibet. You got to move to Tibet at 15 and then disappear, because everything you do, even if you're an accountant, your dad would have done that accurately. You make one mistake. Your dad would have, I mean, you know what I mean?
I think the only hope they have is if they're not going to be great footballers just like they did, which they won't be, because there will never be another Lionel Messi. They're going to have to find those things that maybe he wasn't good at. So hopefully they have incredible, maybe incredible science minds, or at least, at the very least, incredible style of some sort.
Hey, boy, one of the two. I mean, what are we doing here? Look, we can forgive you, but you still Leo Messi's kid. So one of the two. I mean, what are we doing here? Listen, and we're going to stick with a little bit of the sports. Maps, I appreciate you, bro. This has been electric. It's been an electric convo so far.
Thank you so much, man.
I appreciate your open. Talk to me about the Laureus Sport for Good, because that's something else that you do on top of everything else you do. What is it, and what are you guys up to there? Because I love everything that the Laureus sort of organization does, but what is the Laureus Sport for Good?
So the Laureus Sport for Good Foundation is essentially an organization that focuses on supporting sporting programs throughout the world. And of course, I focus on the South African one. And we have numerous programs, around 60 programs here, where we focus on essentially using sport as a means to provide social skills for kids, keep them off the street, give them recreational activity to be able to, learn about their lives, learn about the world, stay safe, be able to safeguard themselves and their lives, be able to learn, or be able to have opportunities that can essentially ensure that they get to a certain place in life, to keep them away from all the tragedies that are happening in the country where, people are not having opportunities. Well, kids are not having opportunities. They're not having access to sports, and they're not getting a fair amount of time to realize who they possibly could be because of being strangled of resources in their immediate communities. There's various different, sporting codes that we focus on to be able to try and empower kids in a big way and help them learn great lessons and skills about life. There's boxing for girls. There's a great organization called Waves for Change, which is also a part of Laureus, which is a surfing organization in Cape Town, and that focuses on taking kids from Khayelitsha. There's all sorts of amazing organizations that focuses on really uplifting kids as much as possible and uplifting the possibilities of where they could go in their lives. They provide meals, they provide homework and educational support. It's really something that is holistic, and it's really about showing how sport has the power to change the world, but from a very early age, if you're exposed to sports, just how much extra value you can add to your life in the smallest ways that you don't realize, and beyond just those physical, literal, practical skills, but also life skills that can really change or shape you in a big way. And it's something that's really important, especially when we can see that the significant moral decay right now in our country, and there has been for a very long time, but we're seeing so much crime, so much gender-based violence, and it's those kinds of things that you lack the opportunity of at a young age, where you're not able to see more to life. When you go into certain activities that are criminal, it's because you've kind of lost hope, and there's nowhere else to turn, and there's no one else who you've ever seen essentially care for you too, and it's a place where kids can feel safe in these various programs, and it's an environment that we try and create for them to feel like they can honestly have people who care about them, that are willing to play a significant part in their life, and that they have so much potential, and that of course they are loved, and that they have they have the possibilities, and that the world is their oyster, and it doesn't matter where they come from, there is that chance, and then there is that level of hope, and there is just that, I think, that inkling of you can be whatever it is that you want.
Hey, Maps. Hey. Get out of town, bro. There's two questions I have after what you just did right there. Number one, have you considered running for president? All right, I'll let you answer both of these together. And number two, how can people get involved? Is there a place to get involved with that, with the Laureus Sport for Good? How do we get involved there if people are, because there's lots of people who want to help. Sometimes guys don't have time, they're at work, but they have time if they know where to go. How can they get involved and get behind that? Because I love sport. Maps, all I know is sport, right? A little bit of TikTok with Paul Pogba every now and then, but I'll do sport as well. So, number one, have you considered being president? How do we get a hold of Laureus Sport for Good?
Number one, absolutely not, and I never will, especially if there's ever going to be another pandemic, because that is probably the toughest time to be president, as if it isn't ruthless enough already. But definitely commend our leadership in trying to ensure that we have some sort of pathway or roadmap for everything that's happening, where we're all working it out together. It must be one of the toughest times to be in that position, and I definitely don't envy Cyril Ramaphosa at all. Number two, if anyone wants to be able to find out more information about Laureus, be it to support, to volunteer in any kind of way, go to www.laureus.co.za, www.laureus.co.za. It actually might be Laureus Sport, but it will come up even if you obviously pop it into Google, and you can be able to find support there. You can be able to find contacts there, or forms that you could fill in to be a volunteer, or see if there are any kinds of vacancies of how you can perhaps enroll yourself as being one of the counselors for the programs. If you have your own program, if you want to sign up your program to see if we can add support to your program, to add it to our Laureus family, also somehow to be able to contribute. There's all the information that you're looking for, and it really is a magnificent organization to be a part of.
Awesome. I tell you what, email me all the details. We'll put it in the description below the link, and people need to get involved. Great. If you have time, nobody's saying you have to, but if you can, get involved. So email me the details, and we'll certainly make sure it's in the description with the talk. Hey, Maps, I saw you delivering food from buns out. Like, when you did that, right, were women just passing out? When, like, hey, like when you were giving them the food, were they just passing out immediately? What's the response like when your delivery guy is Maponyane himself?
Look, the response has been quite interesting. It's actually quite a strange time in life. I think I should actually change my bio to the most followed delivery man in the world. But like that's just become my way of life to ensure that I can keep my business going, my business strong. I think of a lot of the value touch points of what we offer as Banzard, and we offer an incredible experience, something and somewhere where people feel like they can go. Of course, amazing food, or great quality food more than anything else, really great quality burgers. And also, we want to be as involved as possible in terms of the team at the top. So myself and my partner, we would try to be there as much as possible, and I try and be there as much as possible. And it's great to be able to have those conversations with customers that come in, and a lot of them say, "Oh, I was really looking forward to bumping into you. It's great to see that you are at your own restaurant, and it's not just something that you are, the face of. That you're here, you're involved, you're making." You're making the food in the kitchen, you're serving, you are a waiter as well, and you're having conversations with us. And I just thought a lot of people come back because they love that experience. And so if we're going to be delivering, how do you still ensure that experience? Cool, we'll take care of the quality of the food and all of that. But obviously you want to have that element of, will I possibly still be able to see him and have those conversations and see him being involved? And I thought it was important for me to also further extend that gratitude to say, thank you so much. We're so serious and we're so grateful for your business that, we want to be the ones to come and give you burgers. I want to be the one that gets in my car and delivers the burger to you, because this is something that I know I'm passionate about and I'm enjoying, and it's been unprecedentedly successful for us. And being so young in terms of the fact that we only closed at 5 months old when it was locked down, then you have a very small chance of survival. And we want to make sure that we do make it through and we do stay on top of mind, that you do remember the things we did during lockdown to ensure that we stayed in touch, and that we did whatever we could in different ways. And we've been fortunate to have thought of different programs as well. So there's some people who, when they ask me specifically to deliver, will have a slight premium on delivery, but that is for charity, and we give meals every single day to the Guild Cottage in South Africa. So we make meals for them too in Joburg. We make meals for them too, and that's part of our way of wanting to be able to contribute as well, beyond just trying to survive and make any kind of possible profit during this time, which is impossible. We just want to show that it's really about the whole community that supports Buns Up, but the whole community that has always got our backs, and we want to be able to help those that don't have the opportunity to look after themselves too.
That's awesome. And creating jobs. Hey, you were somewhere before this. Dude, before I let you go, because I could just talk to you forever. You were on another set. You were on another set, and you come to this. You're the busiest guy, because I've been watching you for a while now, bro. 2-3 years. You're the hardest working guy out there. Between you and Vusi Tembagwayo, I'd say it's a good fight. Hardest working guy out there. Where were you before this?
She's another accent I'm glad I avoided. So I had I was doing shoots.
He's a savage.
I was shout out to him. He's great. Great guy. Great guy. Fantastic guy. We I've been doing this shoot for Channel O. We're doing a new show, and it's a new kind of lockdown party show, so to speak. And so we were shooting on set right now, and we were wrapping at 7:30. And I'm like, guys, I've got an interview that I have to be on at 7:30
on a big time sports show.
And then on a big time sports show, I told them, dog. I told them. They were like, with who? And I'm like, with Mulelo. And they're like, all right, then you have to leave.
Clip that.
Then you got to go.
Dave, clip that. That. We want to clip that. That's Maponyane said we're a big time sports show.
So we literally wrapped at 7:30, and then I quickly checked connection at 7:40, and then I quickly drove home to make sure that I could be here sitting to be able to speak with the best internet connection I could have, so that we could have this interview. And I didn't want to miss it. And I appreciate you having me on the show. I respect you so much, man. You're incredible at what you do. I love your tenacity. I love the fact that you are just so well versed in all things sport. My kind of guy, and I really love the quality of your presentation. In fact, it's not even. It's for you. It's just like it's who you are. I love the quality of what you know, of your knowledge, and what you bring to each and every person watching and listening. So shout out to you. Keep up the great work, and hopefully we'll be back soon, and hopefully we'll finish higher than Chelsea.
Well, listen, Maps, I just want to speak on my part. The Chelsea thing's ridiculous. But, you know, we all get out of bed one foot at a time. I'm just a guy, you know, I'm just like you. I get out of bed one left foot, right foot, and, you know, I get my cup of coffee.
Speak for yourself.
You know, I don't want to say I'm great, but you've just said it for me. So, hey, Maps, before we take some questions, how much do you bench press? Just give me the number. How much do you bench press?
What?
How much do you bench press?
Do you know what? I would shock you. I'm not a big gym guy. I'm just a body. Yeah. I do a lot of bodyweight training and running and stuff. So I don't have a number for you because I'm not a weights guy.
You know
but
what?
I will start bench pressing so I can give you a number.
Yeah, I expect results. You must deliver. I'm gonna start working on my summer body now. Then by December, people will be like, hey, is that Maps Maponyane? Because I'm going to work on it. Bro, I appreciate you. Let's take some questions, Dave, before we let this man go. Do we have anything for Maps? All right, Maps, how many relationships ended because she was a Pirates fan? Or a Chiefs fan?
What? Or a Chiefs fan, you mean? None. Yeah. Thankfully, each of the races I've been in, whether the women have been big fans of football, have been Pirates fans. So I'm glad about that. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a relationship. It happens in the interview process.
Oh man! But what else we got? We got Jacques Joubert says, just admitted, Maps, Arsenal is a dead horse. That's brutal.
I mean that's brutal. Easy, right? I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah. What's the question?
Yeah. All right. Senzo says, Kun Aguero's son. your dad is Kun, your grandfather is Maradona. That's a tough life, Maps. So that's really someone
That's
bearing
a
you.
tough life.
Yeah, that's someone
Yeah.
saying, hey,
And I know-
Maps, harden up.
And I know Senzo. Senzo's my boy. Senzo's a big fan of this show, and he's probably the only other person I know who knows. I'd say even just about as much as you. Maybe even you guys can go head to head.
Whoa. Hey, take it easy. Hey. Take it easy. Take it easy.
I've done a couple sports quizzes with him, and we've managed to come out on top because of his contribution. So I actually need to invite you to those things. But shout out to Senzo. Give that guy a shout out because he definitely loves what to do.
Yeah. And he's quality. Listen, last one before I let you go. Maps, did I tell you to agree with everything I say before you came to the show? That's the question.
I don't even know what I have agreed with besides that we agree that Arsenal is a dead horse.
Yeah, thank you. On that note, cut
so
it there.
No, the answer is no.
Cut it there. We're going to clip there. He didn't. I'm just as good as I am. Maps Maponyane, listen, brother. I appreciate everything you're doing. And, when you get to a certain level of success, I'm sure you hear negativity and you don't need to hear it from me. Keep your head down because everything that's great that you do, we're watching. Right? We're watching, and there's some of us, many of us, the young ones, they're coming behind you. So keep doing what you're doing and keep taking it to the next level, bro. That's a game changer. You guys like you are changing the game. So thank you very much, Maps Maponyane. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Big Chest, Mr. I won't adopt that accent, Mr. I won't go into Hillbrow ever again because I'm a St. John's guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Maps Maponyane. Appreciate you, brother.